Can you believe that it's summer on Saturday? It's like we're back in winter. It's been quite cold and it's been really wet and drizzly. But we spoke to the dairy farmer that has his cattle on our property, and he said that in October we got 25 mils for the entire month, and we should have received about 80 to 125 mils in October. So it's really late. It's the end of November. We've had about 75 mils this week. That's just a rough estimation. We had 25 mils in one night and it hasn't stopped raining since Tuesday. So we could have had a touch more than that, but my rough estimation is about 75 mils this week. So the ground's lovely and wet and things are growing beautifully. And we've also had our fire on because, you know, it wouldn't be Victoria without a cold snap when it should be hot. But today we've been pottering in the garden. I've been planting the rest of my seedlings and they are all in. I've got a few more seeds that I want to plant and a few more seeds I want to put in the hothouse to get ready for autumn. I want to get them nice and big for autumn. That is the goal. We had high expectations for our summer seedlings and they flopped, but we're going to take a new approach and we're going to try and get our autumn seedlings huge and ready to get into the ground in April, so we can have a harvest all throughout winter. But today what we're going to do is we're going to continue planting an understory in our orchard. We are retrofitting our orchard. It was a standard run-of-the-mill typical orchard where they just planted in rows and they planted the same species together, which is great for pollination, yes, but it's not great for pests. And it was also incredibly run down in there. There was bracken everywhere, which means that there's a soil deficiency, usually nitrogen. We've got a whole lot of silty soil in there with not many nutrients, and the trees were looking really sick as the grasses kind of overgrew the area and was drowning it out. There's a whole heap of black plastic on the floor, which we ripped up when we first moved in. We planted a cover crop that got eaten by the cockies or parrots in the area. But we've changed approaches and we've planted 100 comfrey plants in there. We've planted nasturtiums and we've planted pigeon peas as well. We've also planted a heap of clover to grow throughout the grasses. But I saw a really amazing post on Facebook. I'm part of this permaculture group, and someone had suggested that someone else had install or create swales throughout the contours of their land. I can't remember what this particular person was doing. I believe it was an orchard as well, but this other person who suggested putting the contours in, the swales in, sorry, suggested planting things like potatoes in them, and I thought that was a fabulous idea. I've got nowhere really to plant potatoes, and the people prior to us planted a lot of potatoes throughout the garden beds. And the thing about potatoes is that they are a pest. Once you plant them, they keep popping up. I've actually just weeded this veggie patch, but I think I missed a couple, so I'm going to show you. This bed was full of potatoes, and you can see right there that even though I weed this weekly and pull out potato plants, that they continue to grow back, because that's the beautiful thing about potatoes. Once you plant them somewhere, they'll stay there forever. But I don't particularly want potatoes in those beds or some of the other beds that they were planted in, but I wouldn't mind them in the orchard. Potatoes break up clay. As they grow, they expand. But if I can use something like a swale and not have to water it because they're naturally going to catch the runoff, I'm going to fill the swale up with hay as well, so that the potatoes can grow through the hay. It makes it easier to harvest. The hay will eventually rot down, and it's going to enrich the soil with organic matter, which is what we desperately need here. It's going to make it easier to harvest, and then I'm hoping that I don't have to replant potatoes or Jerusalem artichokes, which is another thing that I want to plant in there, because they naturalize so easily that I'm hoping that they'll just naturally come back each year. We'll see how we go, and you know, I'll monitor the situation, but hopefully I'm going to harvest just before winter, and I'm hoping that next spring the potatoes will just naturally regrow for themselves. But I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. It is an experiment. Like I said, I saw this great idea and I thought it was fabulous. We can apply it to our property. We're on such a slope that I need to create swales on the contours so we can catch and harvest water, so we can water these trees and get them as healthy as possible so we can continue to grow fruit for our family. But I also want to take advantage of this. So I think it's a great idea. I think it'll work, and it's something that I'm going to take you guys along on and show you the hopefully successes, but I'll also show you the fails if we have any. So we've dug our first swale. It's more of a closed end swale. We don't want to divert the water. We want to let it seep in. So it's not super deep. Was considering going deeper, but we are on quite an incline, as you can see. But I think that's enough just to trap some water so it can soak in, rather than what it's doing now, which is running off. So now what I'm going to do, you can just leave it like this if you want, but I want it to have a couple of purposes. So what I'm going to do is plant my potatoes in there. These are my purple Congo potatoes, and they've started to sprout, but I haven't had anywhere to plant them, so this is perfect. So basically I'm just going to drop them in. So if they grow down, they're going to help break up this soil. It's a mix of clay, sand and silt. This is quite nice in this spot. Actually it's nice and dark, but in other spots it's very heavy in clay. But what I'm going to do now is fill up the swale with rotted down hay, and the potatoes can grow through that. They can grow down, break up the soil, and they can, when it catches the water, it's going to feed them as well. There you have it, a super simple way to apply permaculture principles to your orchard, retrofit it, plant an understory, increase organic matter, increase soil life, increase fertility, and it has dual benefits. What I love about permaculture is that systems have more than one purpose. We're catching water. We're allowing it to seep back into the earth rather than running down our land. And I've dug a huge hole, and it could have stayed like that, but instead I've used it to plant potatoes, sweet potatoes, artichokes. You can grow ginger or turmeric, although they don't like wet feet. So if you're in a high rainfall area, maybe this won't work for you, growing ginger and turmeric. But anything that's a root, tuberous, yams might work well in here. I've never grown them personally, but yams could definitely work. Use your imagination, guys, but seriously, such an easy way to grow potatoes. I don't have to harvest these daily, so going out of my zone 1 is not going to be an issue. I can come out and do a harvest in a few months' time when they're ready, and it not be too far from the house. It's not that much of an issue. So I've decided that I'm going to plant the sweet potatoes a little bit differently to the way I planted the potatoes. We've got quite sandy soil here, so I'm not worried about the potatoes rotting, but sweet potatoes in particular don't like wet feet. So instead I'm going to plant these in the berm. I'm going to mulch the berm, and Paul wants to put a little bit of mulch in the swale, and hopefully, because the soil in the berm's nice and loose now because we've just dug it up, it's nice, beautiful, rich topsoil. Hopefully, we get a good sweet potato harvest. We're going to plant one sweet potato per berm because they're not very big. We could probably get away with putting 2 in actually, but we want to put in as many swales as possible. So we might just go 1 sweet potato per berm, and then we'll kind of keep working our way up until we've run out of sweet potatoes. What do you guys think? Are you guys going to give this a go? Do you have any ideas how we can plant an understory in the orchard? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.